Right now, a man who is always groovy, even when he's not in Ibiza. It's Nick Abbot.
Simon, what outrage to start with? Which one is making the nation most furious? Is it the man who moved a picture in his home, thereby showing himself to be the unpatriotic pipsqueak we knew him to be? Or is it that same man attempting to ruin people's lives by trying to stop them ruining their lives? Tricky. Then there's the screaming Mimi, the peach powder puff ex-president who seems to have caught the brainworm that chewed through his new best friend Robert Kennedy's skull. And there's Esther McVeigh showing us exactly what we're missing now that the clown show has shut down and left town. All that and more coming up with me, Nick Abbot, after the new news at 10 on LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
I'm not a big fan of his brain.
Well, let's get back to it.
Several devastating forms have wreaked havoc on Britain over the last year. Did I say forms? I mean storms. In fact, the UK has had its greatest number of named storms since the Met Office's naming system was launched in 2015. Whenever that was. It has nothing to do with global warming, however, you will be delighted to know. Global warming is a woke communist plot to make Donald Trump use less hairspray. Now, the Met Office has revealed the full list of storms for 2025. They said naming storms helps to make communication of severe weather easier and provides clarity when people could be impacted by the weather, said Will, the Met Office head of situational awareness.
What?
I'm not making that up. He's actually called, or his job title is, the Met Office Head of Situational Awareness. Are you situationally aware? Because if not, I know a man who can help. Like Mr. Blobby. He looks permanently situationally unaware. Like he never has any idea where he is. Ain't that right, Bodge? Storms are named if the Met Office decides they have the potential to cause medium or high impacts in the UK, the Ireland or the Netherlands. Here are the storm names for 2024-2025. And they go from A to Z. No, that's not true. They go almost from A to Z. Well, try and think of a name that begins with X that's not Chinese. Go on, I double dare you. You can't do it. A is for Ashley, then B for Bert. Storm Bert. It sounds a bit old to be something so vital and fierce, doesn't it? Connell, Dara, Eowyn. That is E acute O-W-Y-N. Is that one of those Irish names that you don't pronounce half of the letters? Floris for F. Gerben for G. Gerben? That sounds German. No! Gerben the German. Then Hugo, Izzy. Not Aussie. No. Izzy. James, Kaylee. Is it too late to say I'm sorry? And Kaylee, could we get back together again? No. Lewis, Mavis, Naois. Is that one of those Irish names where you don't pronounce half the letters? Naoisi. Otji, O-T-J-E. I don't even know what that is. Then there's Poppy, Rafi, Sayuri, Tilly, Vivian. Vivian. Oh, come on. Storm Vivian. Vivian is a light wind on a balmy day. Nothing more than that. And then Wren, with a W, as in the bird, the Women's Royal Naval Service, and the kitchen suppliers. Not a storm. Not my storm. Weather-wise, it's just another day. The UK is bracing for a bone-chilling cold snap, with weather maps turning icy blue that could see temperatures plunge to close to freezing. Oh, no. The mercury could plummet into single figures from September the 12th, about a couple of weeks from now. The huge drop in temperature will come days after the country is blasted by a heat wave that could send mercury levels soaring to as high as 30 degrees centigrade for 3 consecutive days. One last blast of summer before we wave ta-ta to the sun for another 8 months. From September the 12th to the 13th, Inverness and Aberdeen in Scotland land should see shivering temperatures. Birmingham, Newcastle and Cardiff, minimum temperatures of 5 degrees centigrade. London, Manchester and Plymouth, 6 C. But this weekend, wet in the south, dry in the north. Can you believe that?
No.
I mean, I could check on that while you wait. It does seem rather remarkable. One moment, please. Checking for you now, listener. Your attention is important to us. Aha! What? It's not raining tonight in Glasgow. Nor will it be raining tomorrow. You're actually going to have a sunny day and it's going to be 70 degrees. And then no rain on Sunday. A little bit of rain on Monday, no rain on Tuesday. A little bit of rain on Wednesday, no rain on Thursday. Yes on Friday, no on the following Saturday. Or Sunday. Or Monday. Blimey, that's 5 days in a row you're not going to have any rain. Can you believe that?
No.
I am stunned. Glaswegians will be able to dry out in the next week before getting damp again for the rest of their lives. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the whole of September?
No.
I don't blame you. First half of September, a settled period of weather for most. Mostly. There's a chance of some heavy showers and thunder and lightning. Very, very frightening. However, many areas are likely to be drier than normal. That's the first half of September. Second half of September, spells of wet weather and drier periods and temperatures near the average for the time of year. Temperatures near the average for the time of year. Well, I suppose we're going to have to take it, aren't we?
Oh, fabulous.
Ahmed texts, why does Cruella want to scrap the two-child benefit rule as soon as her party is not in power anymore? Is she being A, clever, B, evil, or C, plain stupid? For me, she scores highly in the last 2 categories, says Ahmed, who completed my thought perfectly. That's exactly where I was going with that. Tariq's texts, so Harry made a stealth visit to the UK to attend his uncle's funeral, but he avoided Prince William. Don't you think you should have paid Noel and Liam a visit for some advice? All right. I would not cross the road to see the Gallagher brothers. I wouldn't go to that gig if it was free. I wouldn't go to that gig if it was free and you gave me a chauffeured limousine to take me there and a hotel to stay at afterwards. I'd tell you I'd go to the gig. I'd take the chauffeured limousine to somewhere else, and I would definitely use up the minibar in the hotel and charge it to you. I've seen that band live, and they were dull boring. Josie says, I've been thinking about the lack of space in our prisons. Only saying this as I've had a total right knee replacement and have basically been shut indoors. But today, 6 weeks later, I got the okay from the surgeon to start driving again. She's going to start driving again. Don't do it, Josie. Think of the people. She says, I was going stir crazy not having the freedom to get out and about whenever I felt like. But watch out, everyone, I'm back behind the wheel. Oh, well, there you are, see, she's going in the same place I did. Tailgating me on that idea, she is. Taking myself and 2 dogs away for the beach for a couple of days, I'd be no good, shut up in a cell, up and away, says Josie. Wow, she sounds out of her mind. Up and away. Yeah, hey, Josie.
Want to score some pot?
Don't drink and drive, and especially, absolutely and totally don't drug and drive. Just say no. In fact, just say no thank you. I mean, good manners don't cost nothing, do they?
Be polite!
David says, I hope you manage to get a ticket for the reunion of next year. I'm sure the Brothers G will spend your money very wisely. Yeah, I'm sure they will, yeah. All of it. Right up there. 0345 6060 973. Tasmania. Martin.
Oh, that was quick, mate.
Yes, Martin.
Wow. Yes, well, really, when it boils down to it, there's only one Gallagher, and his name's Rory.
Okay.
And he should get the publicity.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, during the week, we've been in the midst of a load of storms, but we did have a good day. So I went out in the garden, and my wife was popping out. So she said her goodbyes, and I got on with my task. And I had you on catch-up.
Mm-hmm.
So...
You're
listening
playing
away.
catch-up.
And then
Yeah.
you put on that... You're talking about that Donald Trump accordion skit.
Yes, it's
So I
not the
thought,
first
well,
time
that
I've
sounds
seen
good.
that, but somebody put together a more recent one. It just went out on social media. It's absolutely hilarious. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's brilliant. Yeah. So I am easily distracted. As soon
Yes.
as the car disappeared, I dodged in the house to put the kettle on. I thought, well, I'll just have a quick look, grasp the opportunity, and made the tea, sat down, had a good laugh. And then you'd also been talking about Lady Gaga and the Rolling Stones.
oh, yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll investigate this as well.
And?
And it was brilliant.
It was
Yeah,
brilliant.
Rock and roll!
I know.
Yeah.
One of the albums of last year, no doubt about it, from the Rolling Stones. Those old geezers can still knock out the hits.
That's right.
Whereabouts
So,
are you in
I
Tasmania? I'm
thought-
just looking up the weather in Tasmania, and my weather locator does not recognise Tasmania.
Well, we're in the middle of a raging storm, actually. It's...
Enter
60,
your
70, 80
towns,
mile an hour winds.
your town or city, please.
Westbury.
Westbury. I'm
Yes.
sorry, but there's no such place. Westbury. Is there
Westbury, Tasmania.
is there somewhere more famous that is near you?
Oh, Launceston, I suppose.
Launcestone. Launceston,
No. Tasmania. Yes.
Launceston, Australia. Right, here we go.
Yeah, there's only one.
Launceston, Australia. Wow, that's not very good at all. It's 54 degrees and raining.
It is. Well, it's the middle of winter, so...
Well, I can't tell you how happy I am to hear that. Appreciate that, Martin. Thanks very much. He's calling from literally the other side of the world. You'd need a space rocket to get further away, and he is coming through clear as a bell. I bet that is the clearest line of anybody who calls this show this evening. From Tasmania, if you please. A place that's so... what's the word? It's so obscure that my weather app did not recognise it as a place. I'm just assuming that it exists for the purpose of this show, just in order that we can move on. 0345 6060 973, text 84850, email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on WhatsApp, the number's the same as the phone, 0345 6060 973.
This is LBC. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hot air. H-O-T-A-I-R.
Yeah, it doesn't look like there's going to be any hot air till next summer. It's instant autumn over there where I live. Okay, one of the two outrages of the day. I can't believe it. Keir Starmer had a portrait of Margaret Thatcher removed from her former study in number 10 Downing Street weeks after moving in.
What?
Can you believe that? The Prime Minister found the artwork unsettling and asked for it to be taken down, according to his biographer. Well, I think I speak for most people of my age to say that we found Margaret Thatcher unsettling. Never mind about her picture. The portrait of Thatcher was intended for permanent display in Downing Street, but unpatriotic Keir said the picture of her glowering down at him while he was trying to think was unsettling. So he trashed her memory by moving it a short distance to another room. Fascist. That's the story in a nutshell, that is. The man decides to change the decoration in his home without needing to employ an interior designer and without spending £250,000 on gold wallpaper without knowing who was going to pay for it. But banking on it not being him. That's about right, ain't it, Budge?
I can't comment on that.
The decision has sparked a backlash from Conservatives. You remember the Conservatives, don't you? Used to be the only show in town for 14 long years. The decision has sparked a backlash from Conservatives with Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, who said it was unbecoming of a Prime Minister. who has a role representing the nation, not just his political faction. I mean, I didn't really bend my brain to doing an impersonation. I just sort of... I went halfway there and then gave up. He said. I mean, seriously, Smug, I've missed you. I've missed your pinched little face and your weirdly elongated arms and your suits that look like they're about as fitted as if they were made of Lego. And I've missed your wrong-headedness. The fact that you don't appear to know anything, but have got by your whole life with that Jeeves and Wooster act that you've been playing since you wore a monocle in school. In fact, I'll go further than that. I miss all of them. It's like the Addams Family have been taken out of my life and replaced with a public information film. I mean, it's all very well telling us to look both ways, but that's not very entertaining, is it?
Boring.
In a nutshell. I miss Mr. Blobby.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And I miss the Lizbot, that showroom dummy mounted on a robot vacuum cleaner.
Absolutely.
And I miss that moon-faced Burke who's now resident of a shed where they keep the tools.
I think this is nonsense.
And I miss Lurch.
I don't know anything.
And, of course, The Thing. I miss The Thing, which I would illustrate with their sound bit, but I don't have anything of Therese Coffey. And Morticia. Don't have anything of her either. I mean, I did try to put some audio of Suella Braverman on my soundboard, but it burst into flames. Fortunately, we still have the fag-ash grifter in our lives, the Clacton gas bag, you know, Uncle Fetid.
I'm a nutcase.
And as for the also-rans, the cast that didn't get picked for the Addams Family reboot, well, they all weighed in, didn't they? Greg Smith. You know Greg Smith, don't you? A Tory MP said Starmer moving a picture he didn't like was utter pettiness. Murdo Fraser, a Scottish Tory, said, it seems like a churlish move. Now, there's a word that has to be said with a Scottish accent. Churlish. Like curly. It seems like a churlish move. But perhaps Sir Keir Starmer was intimidated by the gaze of a world-renowned leader whose achievements he will never come close to matching. I've got no idea what he sounds like, but that's the voice I'm going to give him. Intimidated by the gaze of a world-renowned leader whose achievements he will never come close to matching. Well, let's hope not. But there's not much left to sell to friends and donors, so he probably couldn't match Thatcher's achievements if he tried. Tory John Redwood said it showed Keir Starmer wants to drag Britain down. I mean, really, at this point, I think they just put a response to a general question about whatever Keir Starmer is doing on their answer machine and give the number to journalists. Doesn't matter what the question is. Any unhinged overreaction will do. And Priti Patel. You know Priti Patel? Yeah, that's her. She said, I think it tells us everything really about his priorities. Yeah, his priority was to take a painting down he didn't like and then get on with being the Prime Minister of the country. And Megan Gallagher of the Tories in Scotland said, it's disgraceful. But, you know, all of these wacky, waving, inflatable, arm-flailing tube people failed to mention was that Starmer didn't burn the portrait in a satanic ritual, he just moved it. It had already been moved before, when none of these outraged, purple-faced people even noticed, and the usual place for a portrait of an ex-PM is the staircase, because you can rush right by them on the route to somewhere else. But, of course, one individual couldn't let this go without writing a blooming column about it.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. God, stuff you read. I mean, it does seem to me as though the right-wingers are, in much the same way as Trump is flailing around in America, not really having anything to land on Kamala Harris or Tim Walz. And so he spends his time trying to think of an insult that rhymes with Harris or Walz. And so far, I don't think he's come up with anything. That's what he does. The potential next president of the United States of America and leader of the free world spends his entire day trying to think up infantile nicknames for his opposite numbers. What could possibly go wrong? And I don't think that the Tories, the Tory ex-MPs, have really got used to not being the leaders of the country anymore. I mean, they seem to be somewhat confused about their new roles in life. And the right-wing press are just, well, they're having a cow. They don't know. Really, that's what they came up with. He moved a picture. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
0345 6060 973. Glasgow. Hello, Frankie. An ecstasy of fumbling. Yes, Frankie. There you are.
The great man. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You're going to have to turn your turn your radio down, Frankie, because we're going to be sucked into the echo loop of doom.
I've not got my radio on, Nick. I had my headphones in.
Right.
So there's no radio on in here apart from listening to your good self. So.
Excellent. Glad to hear it.
I've missed you.
Well, I've missed me too.
No, I mean, missed talking to you. It's been a while.
Oh, has it?
I was in Bratislava. That was nice.
Bratislava?
Aye, Slovakia, man. Beautiful.
Is it?
Slovakia.
Can you sizzle Slovakia for us?
80 cents a pint. Right.
Really? That's the first thing you thought of?
Booze.
80 cents a pint. That does seem very, very cheap. Really? 80 cents a pint?
Aye, so it's just under a euro a pint.
How are they doing that?
Because I don't know. That's the president. The guy gets shot. Remember the guy, the president, the prime minister. He gets shot. Remember a couple of months ago.
Okay.
I don't know if he gets shot because the price of beer was so high in the world, but no, the boy gets shot. I was living next to the Parliament. Beautiful place, by the way, Nick. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. I'm going to be here.
Well, so what do you do in Slovakia then?
In Slovakia, I play a lot of chess and watch football.
Slovakian football?
Aye. Slovan Bratislava, who funnily enough qualified for the Champions League, and I played my team, Glasgow Celtic, at Celtic Park.
Is that right?
How's that for luck?
Well, who are you going to support?
Well, Glasgow Celtic, of course.
Well, of course, I would think so, yeah.
But anyway, it's not raining in Glasgow.
It's not raining. Well, that was the information that came to me. Yeah, and I didn't believe it.
Can I have the rest of the weather report, please?
No, I've done that already.
Have you done it?
Yeah, but I think the next 2 weeks is going to be remarkably pleasant.
Oh, what? And I'm going to Albania as well. I mean, the only time it gets warm in Scotland, I leave. It's rained for the last 6 years.
Well, maybe if you have any future plans, maybe you could let other Glaswegians know, because you seem to take the weather with you.
Oh, cheers for that, Nick. But my main point, see the Donald. Mm-hmm. Did you hear the Donald's interview with because of this debate thing, Nick? That he was talking about the Donald wasn't happy about the cameras being on and off because. His side were saying that he can't be trusted because he's lonely, but they never actually put it that way. But did you hear his interview? He said, Kamala Harris, well, I can't do Donald like you. She's not very bright. I've no doubt. She said she's not very bright. She's not very good interviewer.
She's a stupid person. Yeah, that's.
She's a stupid person, and blah blah blah. But it's actually the Donald's side that are saying no. Turn the cameras off,
please,
because he's mental.
Please, well, like you said, they didn't quite put it like that, but they are concerned, with reason, to keep his microphone on all the time because he does have a tendency to talk a lot, and you know him in words.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
Just think about that for a second. I am very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. The first part of that statement nullifies the second part. It disproves the second part, moreover. Hey, Frankie, well spotted. Thanks for that, mate. 0345 6060 973. Slovakia, eh? I'll put it at the top of my list. 80p a pint. How are they doing that? £8 a pint here. I have actually been charged £8 for a pint of lager. I mean, £6. You'd be surprised if it was less than that down these parts. But 80p. How are they doing that? I mean, if you took all the tax away and the cost of the people behind the bar and the building that they're standing in and all of the rest of that, it still doesn't seem likely that you'd be able to make a pint of lager and sell it for 80p and still make a profit. How would you do that? But I'm not disputing what he is saying. It was straight from the horse's mouth. David says, I hope you manage to get a ticket for the reunion next year. I'm sure the Brothers G will spend your money very wisely. I think I've done that one already. Ian says, Oasis tickets are already selling for £4,000. Are people nuts? You'd have to be. I mean, please, if you have not seen that band yet, trust me, you're in for a really boring time. Unless you just want to go there and sing all the songs yourself in a beery haze. You know, like Jimi Hendrix once sang. Beery haze. Rock and roll! No, I don't believe I have ever seen, not to my memory, have I ever seen a band more boring on stage than Oasis. Xavier texts, Xavier here. Oh, I see. A name that begins with X. Yes. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC. It's just past 10:30. The news headlines here with Sarina Farrow.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. Chris says, I cannot wait for Storm. Well, it looks to me like Siobhan, but I know that it isn't. It's one of those Irish names where you ignore almost all of the letters and replace them with ones that aren't there. Siobhan. Siobhan. S-Tex on the same subject. Neoise, which I think is one of the names of the storms. Neoise is pronounced Nisha. You're welcome. Naoise is pronounced Neesha. I mean, they're just trying to be difficult, aren't they? Michael says, can you make any sense of the Tories attacking government considering constraints on smoking when their own policy is to ban it? Yes, I can make sense of it. I think that they're trying to find their way in the world now that they have been cruelly removed of power by an ungrateful public. And they're discovering, much to their surprise, that the skills that they demonstrated in power don't really translate to the outside world. Turns out they don't know anything.
I don't know anything.
0345 6060 973. Ealing. Hello, Brian.
Oh, hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Hi, Nick. I just wanted to say, talking about extremes of temperatures, that not only do I remember the 1976 summer, but also the 1963 winter.
Yes.
And those two periods could not have been more different than what they are reported to be today.
What?
The 63 one, my goodness me, I had just started school in September 1962, and oh my goodness me.
The snow was up to your little eyeballs.
Little eyeballs, and come that winter, it was extremely cold. It was perishing. Yeah. You had to walk backwards to avoid the icy gale facing your head. And there were unusable toilets. There were blocked pipes. My mother used to give us a lemonade bottle wrapped up in an old sock to keep the bed warm. Sometimes, you would even have gone to bed with the clothes on because it was so bloody cold.
Yeah, and the entire flat or house was heated with a 1-bar fire. Never mind about underfloor heating that the kids today are enjoying. You believe that?
Yes, there is that, of course, but we always had a coal fire in the big room upstairs.
Right.
That was okay. But the unbelievably freezing temperatures. Yeah. And yet, only 13 years on from that, which was the summer of 76, nothing could be further from the spectrum.
Yes. So what's your point?
Oh, well, intolerable temperatures. It's so extremely hot, very warm.
Yeah. The summer of 1976 was memorable for many various different reasons. The heat was one of them, and of course it was the launch of punk was launched into our lives.
Rock and roll. Yes, it was, Nick, and I'll tell you one thing.
On a hail of spit, it surfed into our life.
About that summer, Nick, I can always remember the day that effectively ended because I was sitting on this fence with a neighbour of ours, a girl about 17, Lorna, and all of a sudden there was this almighty thunder crash of lightning, fault lightning, which I've never experienced nor since. Yellow lightning, a terrific thunderclap, and that heralded the end of that dreadful summer of 76.
Okay, well, thanks for the weather forecast from 1976 and 1963. Appreciate that, Brian. Thanks for keeping us updated. Adrian says, do you know if Oasis are getting back together for a tour? I thought I heard somebody mention it, but nobody has really talked about it. Still, I bet getting tickets to see Oasis will be much easier than getting a doctor's appointment. Millie says, if Oasis are playing in my front garden, I'd close the curtains, says Millie, who's turning it up one louder than me. I wouldn't cross the road. She'd close the curtains. And Caroline says, autumn is meant to be cold with crisp breezes, crisp leaves and crisps with hot chocolate type of thing. Yeah, but I'm not ready for autumn yet, Caroline. I know it's technically autumn tomorrow. What date is it? Nobody has any idea. There's literally no way of finding that out. But it's like next week, autumn, technically. But September can be fantastic. In fact, October can be pretty good. But I do believe that, was it last year, that on the 1st of September, it was instant autumn. It was like somebody switched off a light, the heat light. Awful. I'm not ready for autumn yet. I don't feel I've had a summer yet. Worst summer ever. And it's all thanks to global warming.
Thank you.
Chris says, so Keir Starmer has apparently moved Thatcher's picture. Good on the PM. I myself would move it to the dustbin. That woman did enormous damage to this country. Says Chris, who's just demonstrating how unpatriotic he really is. You can't say anything bad about Margaret Thatcher to a certain element. Usually the element whose lives have been ruined the most by the policies of Margaret Thatcher. Weird that, isn't it? I mean, I know that the poor do tend to vote Conservative, which seems bizarre on the face of it, considering what the Conservatives have done to the poor and those just about getting by. But the really, really poor people, whose lives have been ruined by pretty much everything that Margaret Thatcher brought in, they love her the most. Don't get it. Like, I genuinely am confused by that. Let's see now. Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
Hiya, Nick.
Jeff.
Xerxes is an ex. Did you mention?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Did you mention John Redwood?
Yes.
You complained about the moving of Thatcher's picture.
Yes.
Well, I thought he was embalmed. Is he still alive? I know that down this neck of the woods, his video of his attempt to sing the Welsh national anthem is still played.
Yes.
After 30 years, it's still being played and causes much amusement.
Yeah, I bet it does, yeah.
mouthing these words and his eyes revolving in two disunited orbits. He was something else.
Yeah,
but what
he
I'm
was.
talking about, I got to keep you in the picture.
That's
I got to keep you in the
John
picture.
Redwood, who said that Keir Starmer moving Thatcher's picture means that Keir Starmer wants to drag Britain down. Now, he may well... John Redwood may well have been embalmed. He could just have that on a T-shirt. He could be embalmed and sat up at his dining table, and any time somebody wants a quote from him, they just zoom in, read what's on his T-shirt. It means he wants to bring Britain down. You know, regardless of the subject, that would be his stock response.
Okay. I got to keep you in the picture of what's happening down this neck of the woods. There's a strong rumour, a very, very strong rumour. Do you remember the guy, Vaughan Getting?
No.
He was.
I have successfully erased that man from my memory.
Okay. Well, he's gone into the mists of time. But the present Secretary of State for Wales is a woman called Jo Stevens, not to be mixed up with the speed merchant Eluned Morgan, who's the First Minister. She's got done for speeding, remember? It's 20 mile an hour.
Or, in fact, Ray Stevens, who got done for streaking. Anybody remember that? When was the last time you heard that song? Ray Stevens, The Streak.
No, I can't remember.
You don't remember that?
No. But anyway, I got to tell you, there's a strong rumour, so watch this space, because you always hear it first on Nick Abbot, LBC. They trying to make Vaughan Gethin, the discredited ex-First Minister, a member of the House of Lords.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's a rumour, but you know what rumours do? You know, I'm just keeping you in the picture. So keep your eye on his space, Nick. All right?
That whole building needs to be, not literally, but metaphorically torn down. Every single person in there needs to be investigated to within an inch of their lives and only allowed back in if they can prove that they have been worth the money over the past, let's say, 5 years on average.
Entirely agree.
Yeah.
You and I entirely agree sometimes. And tonight we've agreed.
One of those times. All right. Excellent news. Thanks a lot, Jeff. Keep your eyes peeled. He's keeping us informed. Valerie says, I would not go to an Oasis concert even if I was given VIP tickets for free and a free stay at the Dorchester Hotel for nothing either. I think I've said that already, Valerie. I do not... what is going on in this country? It seems like we've looped back to 1990. I mean, I know that fashion is kind of circular, a little bit, but things don't usually come back in the exact same form as how they were. I mean, that's why all of my clothes, they're old. I mean, I went through a period of buying a load of clothes, and I didn't throw them away. They're still hanging in the wardrobe. And years go by, and I don't wear a single solitary one of them, because they just look a bit off. You know, jackets have got the shoulders too big, or they're a bit too boxy and roomy, and, you know, they just don't look right. But they look right at the time, which is kind of weird now, because you look at them now and you think, oh, blimey, did I ever wear that? But at the time, I thought I was right on time and in the place to be. So, you know, like, that kind of thing will come back, but it'll be slightly different, which is the reason why none of your old clothes will ever really come back into fashion. It'll just look a little bit like them, but not them. You will look like you're wearing old clothes. But the 90s thing has come back exactly as it was. Suddenly, every kid that you see on the street looks like they remember the Happy Mondays. All right. Mad for it. Like that. It's as though they've raided their parents' dressing up box. All these oversized T-shirts and the bucket hats and these these sort of acid-washed, formless clothes. It's just terrible. And the music as well. Oasis. Of all of the bands that could have come back from that period. Not the Stone Roses or Blur. Blur were better than Oasis. I mean, at least it had some variety. At least there was some intelligence in it. It wasn't just this sort of plodding, this whining, plodding thing going on. But the people are excited beyond measure that Oasis are coming back, sing those songs. Champagne supernova in the sky. It's just nonsense. That's my opinion, and my opinion is final. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on WhatsApp, the number's the same as the phone. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Everything is going extremely well.
What gap? Ricky says, hey, Ricky, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Ricky.
Rock and roll!
He says, Angela Rayner has a beer and a boogie in Ibiza. And everyone's talking about it and the world is going to end. Meanwhile, Farage has a cigarette and a beer outside a pub and he's a cult hero for the working man. What a patriot, man of the people, says Ricky, who's had it up to here. Can't stand it anymore. Yeah. Did anybody but me mention that as Angela Rayner was going mad for it in Ibiza, that there was a certain... you remember Therese Coffey, don't you? Yes, she was dancing, if you please, at the Tory Party conference in 2021. She was the Work and Pension Secretary. And she was jiggling her frame to I'm Having the Time of My Life just after the announcement had been made that universal credit was going to be cut by £1,040 a year. Anybody talking about that?
No.
No. It's all about Angela Rayner. Raz says, I'm glad you said Oasis was boring. I could not agree with you. Happy, smiling face, crying. Presumably that means I could not agree with you more. He says, why is the TV and media going frenzy about this boring group? It's over the top. Sick of their reunion. It's like Jesus has arrived, says Raz. Some of that made sense, Raz. Yeah, it's like Jesus has arrived and is stuck in a queue trying to get tickets for himself. Neil says, stop banging on about the last government and how much you hate them and seriously look deeply about how much damage your new team will do to the future prosperity of this country. He says, Starmer and Reeves are ignorant and, like you, have no reality about how markets and prosperity works, says Neil. You're an idiot, Neil. I don't mean that in an unkind way. I'm trying to be positive. 0345 6060 973. Woolwich, hello, Richard.
Oh, hi there, Nick.
Hello
hi.
there.
Hey, hello. I was 2 hours this morning in the online trying to get tickets.
Oh, yeah.
But not for Oasis.
Oh.
For Yo-Yo Ma. He's coming tomorrow to the prom.
Yo-Yo Ma.
Yo-Yo Ma, yes. The cellist. And he's utterly brilliant. And, yeah.
It really took... You were waiting in a line to get tickets for 2 hours to see Yo-Yo?
To see Yo-Yo. And I couldn't get them. And now they're trading online for about £100. So,
well, that doesn't seem... That seems like ticket... what's the face value?
So £8 for an arena ticket.
8?
Yeah, 8. You know the proms you can queue in the arena.
Oh.
But there were no tickets left. There were no seated tickets. They went a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's coming. He's playing Beethoven, and yeah, I'd much rather go and see Yo-Yo Ma than I would Oasis.
Yes, me too. Yeah, just for the experience of it, because getting to and from Oasis is going to be an absolute nightmare. You're going to be surrounded by bloated, beery blokes looking for a fight, and Dad dancing to this drudge rock.
Exactly. You know, the last time you played at the prom was a late-night prom, and he did the Bach suites, and he did all of them, and it went on for about 2 hours. It was great. Yeah.
But don't you think that, that's all very well and all, but they're playing music that's hundreds of years old. They're just doing the same songs over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, in classical music, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but everything's been done under the sun. Nobody really plays any new stuff, do they?
Well, they've done lots of premieres at the prom this year, and they've been absolutely awful. Right. Lots of shouty kind of voices and percussion and all that kind of stuff.
No, I wouldn't like that.
But I also, by the way, Nick, I mean, this is like timeless, because I went to the cinema tonight and there was the Terminator on. I mean, it's like stepping back in time for me. It's Oasis is coming back. Yeah. The Terminator's on at the cinema.
Affirmative.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Which Terminator?
I'll Be Back, the original.
The original, right.
Yeah.
The original and second best.
It's really? Oh, yeah. It's 40 years old, that's why.
Is it?
Good
grief.
Yeah.
40?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
That's actually frightening. Now, I remember something coming out 40 years ago when I was alive. I was alive 40 years ago and going to the cinema. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can. But my main point, very quickly, I know you're coming up to the news, is that you were completely right about the Tory strategy, or the Tory party strategy. They are completely undermining Labour and blaming Labour for all the ills in 2 months. And this kind of smoking policy, for example, we know that was Sunak's policy.
Yes. But Sunak's policy was going to go further and was going to ban smoking entirely over a period of time, not just in gardens, everywhere, for everyone.
Exactly so. And the winter fuel policy, that was actually in the pipeline for the Tory then government to do as well.
Well, it wasn't an original thought. At the time of the election, when it looked like the Labour Party were going to win, I said, and let me reiterate, this is not an original thought, but I said that the Tories, as soon as Labour get elected, will blame everything that is wrong in the country on the newly elected Labour government. And that is precisely, shamelessly, what they are doing.
It's so predictable, isn't it? I mean, you're completely right, and they're just it's just kind of this outrage that they're coming out with, and you sort of think to yourself, "Oh, please," as you said last week, please just go away, climb under a couch, and just
a period of silence. Yes, back under your bridges, trolls. All right, good work.
Instead, they're saying, "I'll be back."
No, not if the public have got anything to do with it. They won't. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Richard. I'll be back. No, you won't. Yeah, a period of silence would be well appreciated. Let's start with 5 years and see how we go. But no, it's as though they're casting around for some purpose to their life. Their red boxes have been taken away from them. Not that they read them anyway. It seems that most Tory ministers seem to have been repurposed as nodding dogs. You remember people used to have nodding dogs in the back of their Austin Allegro? What was that about, by the way? Why did old geezers put nodding dogs in the back of their back shelf of their Austin Allegro? What was that for? Well, it's like old your granny may have put a knitted cover over the spare toilet roll. A knitted cover that was actually the dress of a doll, and the doll's feet would go into the cardboard tube, and then you would pull the dress over the toilet roll because nobody wanted to see a spare toilet roll.
Disgusting.
Awful. To, save people's blushes. People used to do that. What was that about? That's going to be the topic from now until the end of time on this show. What was that about? People used to put a shag pile piece of carpet that was cut to fit around the toilet bowl as it met the floor. Because that's a good idea. What were we thinking? Well, I think we weren't thinking. That's the problem. And it seems to me that I don't know how I got onto toilet rolls and shag pile bathroom carpets from the Tories. other than they were both, a little bit disgusting. And when you say disgusting, you have to say it disgusting, because disgusting sounds more disgusting than disgusting, which doesn't sound remotely as disgusting as disgusting. I hope you're writing this stuff down, kids. 0345 6060 973. Lucy says the Tories' concerns for businesses' fears regarding plans to offer workers the right to request a 4-day week seem remarkable, given how they happily ignored their concerns over Brexit. That's very true. Do they care for their thoughts on Starmer's attempts to re-establish better relationships with the EU? Yeah, they don't like that at all. They don't like anything that starts with the letter E, as a matter of fact. Everything starts with an E. Remember that. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on WhatsApp, the number is the same as the phone, 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC. I've only got halfway through my my Thatcher story, because a certain individual has weighed in on that, and he has got a lot of weight to throw about. So I'll come to that in a minute. 0345 6060 973, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello, boys.
Don't touch me, or I'll kill you.
David says, I sent you a message last weekend about buying Idiocracy at a bargain price from a charity shop. It's a very funny film, but I must admit I struggled to recognise when the scenes went from present-day USA to its dystopian future. Yeah, it's one of the films that I recommend that it may have passed you by. It's called Idiocracy. I mention it a lot. You might want to avail yourself of a couple of those 80p Slovakian pints before you watch it. It might improve its quality to you. But it used to be a comedy about a dystopian future, and now it's a documentary about the present. Idiocracy. Ask for it by name at a video rental store near you. Martin says, I'm outraged that Starmer relocated Thatcher's painting. He should have thrown it into a skip. And Mark says, it's Meghan Markle's fault that Oasis are getting back together. Yeah, thanks a lot, Meghan Markle. Is there nothing you won't do to try to ruin our lives? Let's have Lingfield, Genevieve.
Oh, hi.
Genevieve.
Hi.
Genevieve, you sound like, with a name like that, you should be relaxing in a stream surrounded by flowers.
How do you know I'm not?
your ginger hair being taken by the water. No?
Well, maybe. If it was only warm enough, I would totally be doing that. Anyway, I wanted to reassure you, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
I felt last weekend you were very dour.
No.
You were?
No. I think you're projecting, Genevieve. Perhaps you were dour and you just wanted me to be, to fit in with your mood.
Do I sound like a dour person?
Not today, you don't, no.
Okay, well, listen to me, right? Listen. Last week, I found that you were very down on the generation that were coming up.
Oh, the kids.
Now,
yeah, very, very disappointed.
Yeah, the kids, yeah.
Disappointed, yes.
And I just wanted to reassure you, there are people out there doing our best for the next generation.
Well, I was going to ask you if you could try harder, but if this is your best, then I suppose we're going to have to put up with it, aren't we?
Yeah, always has been my problem.
How old are you, Genevieve?
That is a personal question.
20.
No.
30.
No, I'm 42.
42 years old.
No, don't. Oh, I do not want the birthday thing.
So are you dressing like the kids did in the 1990s? Have you got your bucket hat on? And have you got your...
No, this is not about Oasis.
Right.
No, I'm talking to you about what happened last weekend.
Yeah.
Before the Oasis announcement, I wanted to say to you, do not be upset, OK? We are all out there. I just wanted to say...
Well, what was I saying last weekend that made you think incorrectly that I was being down?
Well, I almost turned off. And this is very strange. It's very personal between between how I listen to you. But I listen to you.
Well, what was it that I said that made you, that exercised you so?
You were thinking that we are all like going down I don't know, like a social media...
Plug hole, yes.
Yes, a plug hole, exactly.
The whirlpool of social death that is social media, yeah.
So listen, this is hardcore parenting,
right?
Okay, from the 40-year-old and 30s and obviously the 20s who are shouting at me now saying, we've got kids as well. We all sit there and I played like 9 games of Snakes and Ladders today, and it's flipping boring, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It's a children's game. It's not for 42-year-olds.
No, but I played it with a child. I have a child.
Right.
I didn't play it with another adult.
Got it.
I played, with my child.
Right. So,
then
the board game comes with one child free. A free child per board game. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we sat around the table and I said, put your phone away. Well, my child doesn't have a phone. My nieces and nephew have a phone. And I have a rule. If you get in my house, you put your phone on my side, whatever you call it, the side
And when you tell them that, do they say, oh, Genevieve?
Yes, Auntie Genevieve, yes. Auntie Genevieve. Yeah, of course they do. They go mental at me. So you have 5 minutes of them going mental, and then you say, come around the table, and you're going to hear some amazing chat.
Chat?
Yeah, chat.
Chat?
Yeah, oh, did you hear what this person did to that person?
That's not amazing. That's just chit-chat. Stories, you want to read them.
No, I'm not going to read them stories,
Come around the table and listen to me chat. Well, no wonder they hate going around Auntie Genevieve's place. Blimey, can you believe that?
Okay, well, you're right. We have 5 minutes of massive, what's the word? Where they're like really, not agreeing with me about the phone thing. Yeah. And then they sit around the table and then it's so lovely. They just awaken their views. They have some opinions and we say, oh, yes, that's a great opinion.
And you chat. Right.
Yes, we chat.
Right. Well...
And the Snakes and Ladders, remember?
Yeah, pity the poor children, I say.
We can't have it both ways, because last weekend, honestly, I thought, crikey, someone needs to look out for him, or he needs to, get the Samaritan's number line.
And you know what I'm thinking, Genevieve?
You were down in the dumps.
I'm thinking of turning you off, just listening to you.
Oh, that is me.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I'm throwing it back at you. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Genevieve. Martin says, no, I've read that one. Meghan Markle, read that one. Paul says, here we go, here's one I haven't read. You ready? Paul says, a pint of decent ale down my way in Brighton is about £7.50 or £8. What? Guest ales can be the best part of a tenner. You need to drink after you've paid that. A tenner for a guest ale? They're selling it for 80p a pint in Slovakia, if indeed that is such a place. Stan says, used to be 10p for 10 cigarettes, 20p for 20 cigarettes, £3.36 for a bottle of scotch, circa 1974. That was before VAT came in and being ripped off, says Stan. Whose life has been revolving around cigarettes and alcohol since 1974. 0345 6060 973. I still haven't got on to Mr. Blobby's reaction to Thatcher's portrait coming down.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
He is he pays to be outraged by the word. So I'll get to that in a minute. Devon, hello, Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Hello, Rose.
Oh, yes. Well, it's funny because I was hoping to ring in about a similar thing to what Richard had already rung in on, which is high ticket prices.
Oh.
And because it really did strike me the difference between, well, you've got little Taylor Swift as well and Oasis sort of tickets. And to hear what's possibly the world's greatest orchestra, I mean, it's funny when you think about it, the Berliner Philharmoniker, numbering 120 musicians, plus conductor, plus an Icelandic soloist. You can stand near to them for £8.
Isn't that amazing?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the later one from Richard. It's 8 o'clock in the evening. And to sit down on a good seat, between £30 and £80, and really expensive seat is 150 in a box.
Yeah.
And that's it. And for that, you get these world-class players who the one thing they want to do most in their career is come to this incredible festival, all nations, and this wonderful atmosphere where they get such a tumultuous welcome, especially if it's a new soloist. There was one on Tuesday. She came with the Czech Philharmonic, a Russian cellist, a lovely young woman. I mean, I heard it on the radio. I didn't see her, because they're all on the radio, all 72 of them. Concerts, I mean. And she'd never seen the Albert Hall before. And the reception she got, Nick, and the warmth and the cheering to high heaven after she'd played the concerto, which was stunning, actually.
Yeah.
It's just marvellous.
Yeah,
and for those prices.
But never mind about that. Did they take a lot of drugs, get drunk, and have a fight, and call the gig off halfway through?
I'm afraid not. It's not worth it, is it? Oh, dear.
It's extraordinary, really, how much people are prepared to pay to go and see a rock band. I remember back, and I only know this because a ticket for this gig appeared on the Antiques Roadshow a little while ago as part of somebody's memorabilia, and it was for The Who at Celtic Park. And it wasn't just The Who was just about the biggest band in the world at that point. It was The Who and the sensational Alex Harvey Band, who really were sensational. It was Little Feat, an absolutely massive band from the southern states in America. The Outlaws, who were kind of like a bit Lynyrd Skynyrd-ish, and Chapman Whitney Streetwalkers, who were beyond phenomenal. Five massive bands who could have headlined a gig all on their own. And I think it was £3.
Oh, come on.
3.
God. Everything's gone completely mad.
Everything has gone completely mad with gigs, yeah. And I think they just try it on, thinking, well, let's see if they'll pay this. And when they do, then they just add another 20-30% on the next time around. And it's just, I can't imagine that it's worth it, or in fact that it costs that much to put a gig on. That they are...
No.
People who put bands on, big bands, are just deliberately ripping off their fans because they know that their fans will buy a ticket regardless of what the price is.
Well, it's the way of everything, isn't it? this age of there's no limit, there's limitless profit, and somehow it's all seen as justified. If you can get the money, then you're morally obliged to do so. Almost.
Right. Yes, for the shareholders, as is the case with water companies and oil companies and the electricity companies. And you'd think that at some point, supermarkets as well, you'd think that at some point, because people are going through a cost of living crisis, that they would get to the point where they can't actually afford these products that are being sold to us at maybe double what they were just a few years ago. Because people are profiteering off our misery. But there doesn't appear to be any point at which those companies that are racking the prices up while making record profits, which does mean that they are ripping us off. You can't make record profits from an increase in price. There is no other way. The increase in price goes straight into their pockets. They're not covering extra costs if they're making record profits.
See, it seems to me it's now we've gone off my original subject, but I just sort of point it out again to say this is one of the reasons why it's so good to hear something that's good and true and isn't trying to rip you off, you know.
Yeah.
But that I've got this sense very strongly that it's an established ethic now that death, illness, destruction of the environment, I mean death and illness of people and animals and environment, even people's death, is legitimate in order to make whatever profit you can, because that's kind of become the ethic.
Right. Well, if you get ill and you want treatment privately because the NHS has been run into the ground and can't do anything for you until you're either cured or dead, then I would invite you to look at the price list of private medical treatment.
Yeah. Yes, and you will have been got ill virtually deliberately by the food companies, for example.
Oh, who will then make another fortune selling you the products that reduce or that are supposed to reverse the obesity that their original products caused. Yeah.
Yes.
What a racket that is.
Yes, it's all a racket, yes. I haven't got time to tell you about Winnie the Pooh, have I?
No, unfortunately not. That'll be
do that next time.
Next time, yeah. Forthcoming attractions. All right. Thanks a lot, Rose. Cheers, my dear. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, private medical people. I had to go and see one a little while ago about my throat. Because I just thought, well, what's the point of... first of all, if I ask a GP, it'll be a month before I get an appointment. And then it'll be another 6 months before they send me to a specialist. And as my voice is pretty much the only thing I've got, if that goes, then I haven't got anything, being as I'm a talk show host. So I went to see the guy, and if you've ever seen a private consultant for anything, it's as though the subject of money doesn't even cross their minds. You ask them how much something is, and they act like it's the first time they've ever been asked that question. You make an appointment with somebody, and you've got absolutely no idea what it's going to cost you. They just don't talk about it. Oh, well, my secretary will handle all that. And you ask the secretary how much is this going to be, and they say, oh, well, I don't really know. I'm sure I've got the note here somewhere about how much it can... They do this all day long. I could tell you how much he charged me, but it will cause me such a pain to relate the number to you for what was essentially 10 minutes of this man's time. But I don't think I can bring myself to say the number out loud. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Right, so what are we doing?
Oh, Gibbon, I'm glad you asked. We're doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, it's a very funny podcast. I can say that with justification because she is a very funny person. And I don't mean funny crazy, I mean funny hilarious.
Oh, right, yeah.
And funny crazy. Now, the idea is that it's a problem-solving podcast. Do you have a dilemma that you wish us to bend our brain at? If so, send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. nickandcarol@global.com. But you must prepare to be totally satisfied.
Yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? I think there's about 250 episodes up there. I find that hard to believe. 250. I think there are 250. And it comes out on a Monday and a Friday. You'll love it. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Now then, let's have the Isle of Wight. Hello, Billy.
Hi, Nick.
Billy.
How are you?
Great, mate.
Good. It's nice to speak to you. I rang up regarding Oasis.
Yeah.
I'm totally with you on it.
Boring drudge rock.
Oh, absolutely. I'd rather fall asleep. In fact, that's what I do when I watch them.
I just stopped watching them. There was absolutely nothing going on that stage. It was some guy trying so hard to look tough. It was risible, with his cagoule zipped up to his neck. singing in a microphone with his head bent back because he likes the mic about a foot higher than it should be because, I don't know, that makes him look hard. I've got no idea. No communication between any of the band members on stage, no act of any kind. It was as though they just did not want to be there, which, coincidentally, was my feeling entirely.
This is Liam Gallagher you're talking about.
It was the whole band, all of them.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, it's interesting you bring up the lack of communication between his band members. Liam Gallagher at the Glastonbury Festival, you can look this up, said, turn that bleeping fog machine off when the fog started getting in his face. I mean, if that's what he's like on stage, I wonder what he's like off stage.
Well, I think we know. I've seen plenty enough to know all I need to.
He looks like, you know, when you go into the supermarket, Nick, and these days there's self-service checkout queues. You know, when they get really, really long and there's just a queue of completely bored faces. That's what he looks like when he's on stage. He just looks like he doesn't want to be there and that he's in an endless self-service checkout queue that has no start or end to it. I mean, quite frankly, if you want to go and watch an Oasis concert, then good on you, but I'd rather sit and watch a 10-hour documentary on the history of grass cutting.
Yeah, I'd rather take the money that I would have spent and burn it to see what it looks like on fire. Because I've never done that before.
I just don't understand why anyone would go to...
I do.
To effectively fund...
Yeah,
I mean, why is he coming back on tour? I mean...
I know why.
After all this time.
I know why.
Well, everybody knows.
You're not asking me. I know why. Ask me.
Go on.
Because people are trying to relive their youth. They want to go back to a time when their knees worked and there was an outside chance of them having sex again.
Disgusting.
That's why they're desperate to relive their past.
Have they not heard of aging gracefully?
No, what's that?
I mean, generally, aren't you meant to sort of move on to other genres? I mean,
no, nobody does that. Nobody moves on to another genre. They're always stuck at the period of their youth. I mean, for me, probably you too, the period of your youth when you really got into music when you were a kid, late teens, early 20s, that's the period that sticks with you as the most important for the rest of your life. I mean, you'll like other things that you hear subsequently, but nothing will be as important, will mean as much to you as that music.
I just... The thing is, though, that can be described as music. I don't think Oasis can be described as music.
Oh, come off it, Billy. Now you've gone too far.
Honestly, Nick...
Well, reel it in just a little bit. It's music, but it's dull, plodding dad rock.
It's just boring. It's just the same tone. I mean, I can do it quite well, like maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, don't please just don't. I mean, I can't describe that as music. Okay, the stuff in the background that they're talking over is music, but what's blurting out of their mouth? It just doesn't do it for me. I'm reading a book at the moment, Nick, on a psychologist. It's quite interesting, and in the chapter she writes about. Well, it is actually. It's quite interesting. You should know.
Is it? Yeah, I know. Yeah, but is it not? Is that book on psychology not just the written down, blooming obvious? Yes.
Well, yes, but the anecdotes that she speaks about, she says that there's this tone that her patients used to use that used to make her a little bit sleepy, and she said it's only happened to 2 patients in her lifetime. And I resonated with that line when I think about listening to Oasis.
Right. Well, my recommendation is that you don't. All right. Now, take that twice a day and call me back if your symptoms persist. Thanks a lot, Billy. 0345 6060 973. Zara texts, I'll tell you a more terrible live band, Nick. Sisters of Mercy. I went to a gig in Camden with high hopes a few years back, and the die-hard fans were warning me in the bar before we went in just how famously bad they are live. Well, that's weird. The die-hard fans were saying that. Huh. 0345 6060 973. Now, let me see who's been waiting the longest. Be totally fair about this. San Francisco. Hello, Mike.
Hello, Nick. Well, just to answer your question, Siobhan, and being of Irish extraction, RRR, I can tell you that is Shaban.
No, it's Siobhan.
Siobhan, okay. Close enough.
No,
right?
it isn't. No, I'm sorry. You failed this test.
Uh-oh.
Hey, I heard that Kamala Harris ruined San Francisco. That's what Donald Trump says.
Well, he can't even pronounce her name right. Yes, that's true. I had a friend in college, I wanted to tell you, named Harry, and he had a rather distressing habit. When you had a conversation with him and you pronounced a word that he thought you said wrong, he would stop you, tell you that, pull out a copy of his dictionary in his back pocket, and show you that you pronounced that word wrong. Now, you were talking to Genevieve and you were calling each other dour, and if Harry were here, he would have stopped you both and said, I think that's supposed to be dour, D-O-U-R, and would hang out, give you his dictionary and said, see, look, here it is. Well, I tried to find Harry a few years ago, and I couldn't find him, and I think it's because his life was probably not a long one.
Yes, say that, pull that kind of trick in America, and you might be met with a stern response. Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Dude. Well, that sounds like a Scotsman is saying that word. Dude.
It is. Yeah. It is. I believe it is a Scottish word. I won't swear to it because I'm not from there.
Right.
But yeah.
So what's the feeling in America? What is the feeling in America now that Joe Biden has left the race and the light has been let into the room and Kamala Harris is laughing in the beams of the sunlight?
Well, the big word around here is joy. You probably heard that from Simon Marks or one of those. But joy. We're going to see what happens to them because to Kamala, and I'm hoping they win, but Kamala, if I'm saying that right, and Tim Walz, when they start to get into interviews and people start asking them hard questions, we're going to see how they perform. Personally, I don't think either of them performed particularly well in the one that was on CNN last night. Because a lot of the politicians, you ask them a question, and the last thing they want to do is answer it. They go around and around in a circle, and the presenter at least kept asking, like, he asked Tim Walz, who said that he carried a weapon in war. Of course, he wasn't in war. He was in the National Guard.
Yeah, that was one... hang on a minute. Wait. That was one thing that he said in the course of talking about something else. He doesn't go around saying, I was carrying a weapon of war. And don't you think that those two are held to completely different standards than Donald Trump, who lies about absolutely everything all the time?
Absolutely. I agree with you, but they are held to that standard, and if they've got to keep in mind. I'd just like to hear a politician say, I wanted to say to Kamala, Vice President Harris, it's okay to change your mind about something. People do it all the time.
Mike, I've got to go, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Just past 10:30 on LBC. The news headlines with Serena Farrow.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Hello.
0345 6060 973. Caroline says the leaves are turning, so it's officially autumn. Caroline, the leaves have been turning for a good long while now. I think it's a lack of water, which is odd because I thought that we had a lot of rain this year, but there's a lot of plants that seem to be gasping for a little bit of moisture. Val says, a friend of mine got married on July the 17th, 1976, the only day that summer that it rained. July the 17th, 1976. I remember 1976 very well. I was living in Edinburgh, and it was even hot there. Can you believe that?
No.
Howard says, I'm a fluent speaker of Welsh and learner of Irish. Come off it, Nick. English spelling is just as non-phonetic as Irish. For example, Loughborough. Lohugaborogaha. Slough. Sloagaha. The addition of a letter to change the sound of a vowel. Glad and glade. Irish is full of this sort of stuff as English is, but it's far more consistent. English is very inconsistent, says Howard, who hates our country. Boo! 0345 6060 973. Oops, one moment. Now then, let's see. Bath. Hello, John.
Hello.
John.
I tell you, before I make my points I want to make, I want some advice from you.
Go on.
My living room is full of fruit flies, and they're driving me insane. It's like, I filled the room with fly spray, and I think it's more likely to kill me than them.
Yes, that's a bad idea.
But they just keep sitting on my glasses, they keep sitting on the television, they come up my face, and I'm trying to work out what to do, because it's ridiculous.
What gets me about flies is that, and I imagine you're talking about, like a fruit fly is just like a house fly, a blue bottle, right?
Yeah, very small little things. They're like little fleas with wings.
Oh, no, right. So not a.
You know, if you go into a pub and they don't clean their taps, you get them on your drinks.
Yes,
it's that kind of thing.
Right. They come at your face and you try and swipe them away, but
and they keep coming back.
They keep coming back. Yeah. I think you need one of those death bats.
I've got one of those. Oh. The problem is they're too small. They go through the hole.
Go straight through.
So I actually was talking to a friend of mine, and I thought maybe if I put a bit of foil on the front, it will conduct it.
No.
I'll probably electrocute myself.
Yeah, that sounds like a very bad idea. Yeah.
But honestly, they just sit. They sit on my glass of tea. They sit on, like, they come at my face.
Yeah.
And it's like I try to get rid
your
of them.
beautiful face, John.
I know, and it's quite scary, But honestly, my room, as I'm talking to you now, is full of them.
Well, why are they being attracted into your room? Have you got like rotting fruit or?
No, it's just my living room backs onto a garden.
Yeah.
So when the cat goes out, these sods come in.
Right. Even at night? Surely not.
They do. They stay over. It's like a.
They stay over. Like a pajama night.
They do. Right. Honestly, they're all over the place. Honestly, it's like I could see one now on my large mirror in front of my fireplace, and it's just sitting there. And I know if I get the little electric bat, it's going to fly right through it.
Right. It'll just it'll disappear like clothes moths. You'll see them on the wall, and you think, right, I'm going to get you because you got my jumper last year. And you'll reach for a tissue or your death bat or something like that, and by the time you turned around, they've disappeared. How do they do that?
But there's a Dragon's Den moment. Somebody needs to invent a death bat with smaller holes.
Well, I think the death bat that I've got, it wouldn't go through because it has a very fine grid on the front of it.
Mine does, but these things are so small, honestly. They're like the top of a pinhead.
Yeah.
So they just kind of survive. But anyway, so the reason I'm ringing, other than that...
Oh, there's more?
Yeah. The reason why it's so expensive to go on concert is because musicians don't make their money from selling albums anymore.
Yeah, that's not a reason to rip your fans off by getting them to pay hundreds and hundreds of pounds for a perfectly ordinary ticket. Or they start to, like the really big bands, they'll do something like, and here's your VIP ticket, and that will give you entrance to a special area around the side where there'll be refreshments, which is...
Nick, I don't agree with it.
Which is, a bottle of Cinzano and a sausage roll.
But I don't agree with it because I was born in 1965, so I remember when going to a concert was affordable.
Yeah, it did seem affordable. I mean, you could... everything seemed affordable. It were grand when I were a lad. You could have a holiday in Clacton, a three-piece suit, and a Hillman imp for £3.50. You believe that?
And I could take my friends out for a drink and not have to get a mortgage.
Yes.
You know, I don't know what's happened now. But the other thing I was going to say is, what do you think about this business about... Nigel Farage getting his gander up about smoking outside pubs?
My interest in Nigel Farage, I'll use that line from Fraser. You know, there's a electron microscope at the Oxford University that can unlock the secrets of the smallest particles in the universe. And even with that instrument, you could not locate my interest in Nigel Farage.
You see, I'm no interest in him, but Keir Starmer, for some reason, he wants to ban smoking outside.
Yeah. For some reason...
No, I don't really care.
What do you mean, for some reason? As though it's unfathomable. Why would he want to do that?
No, I agree with it, but his timing. I'm wondering why now?
Right.
You know, but it's
why
like,
not?
You know, but it doesn't bother me because it's like, you know, it's annoying, isn't it, when you're sitting outside, someone's blowing smoke.
Correct,
in your
Amundo. Yeah.
So I don't really care, but I don't know how he's going to police you not being able to smoke in your house.
No, of course you can smoke in your house, you Aegis.
No, that's what he wants to do. That too. He wants to ban it in your house too.
No, he does not want to ban it in your house.
That's what I heard.
Well, where did you hear it?
It was on the Jeremy Vine show.
Who? Yeah, it was some moron caller, no doubt, who said, "Oh, I've heard that he is," and then you repeated it as though it was a fact. He doesn't want to do anything of the sort. He wants to ban it where people are, not in your own home. Although Rishi Sunak did want to ban it in your own home by removing it from the market entirely.
It doesn't bother me, honestly. I don't see the problem because to me, like people smoking when you're trying to eat or when you're sitting outside, it's annoying.
It is.
So you know, it doesn't bother me in one way whatsoever. But the man who we shall not mention is claiming that it's going to be the death knell of the pubs.
Yeah, the death knell of the pubs has been called before. The first time around when the smoking ban happened, back in whenever it was, I can't remember. That's exactly what people were saying before. Say, oh, well, all of these pubs are going to shut, all the restaurants are going to close, it'll be an absolute catastrophe, and furthermore, nobody's going to pay... Hang on.
He doesn't have much faith in
Hang on a minute. Nobody's going to pay attention to these rules, and it's going to be an absolute catastrophe. And then they brought the ban in, and everybody obeyed the rules. I can't remember a single story of one person not doing that, and everybody's lives were improved immeasurably thereafter.
I mean, I'd go a step further. I would just ban cigarettes full stop.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they don't do that.
Well,
maybe it's the revenue.
That's what Fishy Sunak was going to do. But he was going to do it gradually, by age.
That's basically the only decent thing he came up with.
Yes, which implies to me that he didn't have anything to do with coming up with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway, it's great to talk to you. If you come up with a suggestion to kill these little flies, tell me, because honestly, I'm surrounded.
Okay. All right, will do. Thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. Terry says, the chap talking of cold winters, I loved the smell of our paraffin heater in the kitchen. I love the smell of paraffin in the kitchen. And how hardware shops used to smell when I used to go for a gallon, says Terry. Yeah, paraffin heaters, they do have a distinct smell. I can't say that I wouldn't use it as a perfume. Can't say I miss it, really. I'd like to maybe give it a sniff once in a while. They should have some sort of some sort of amusement where you can smell old smells and hear old sounds. And my old smell would be the what do they call that machine that you copied with? That it was like a purple copy, and you wound a handle around and around, and it spat out copies. What was that called? That used to smell fantastic. At school, you had a couple of sniffs of that, and you could blast straight through double maths. And for sounds, I have said this before, but the best sound of all time, apart from the distant sound of a lawnmower, emphasise distant, and the distant sound of church bells, and the very, very distant sound of children playing, and that would have to be several streets away. You hear it every now and again carried on the wind. But my favourite sound of all time was the ticket machine that they used to have on the bus. Bus conductor used to have this massive bit of metal hanging around their neck, and they used to wind the handle around, and it spat your ticket out. But the sound that it used to make in the process of doing that was fan-bloomin'-tastic. I would listen to that for 3 hours rather than Oasis. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. Hey, I still haven't done that Boris Johnson versus Maggie Thatcher thing. Oh, he had to weigh in, because of course he did. Of course he did. So I'll come to that in a minute. The stuff that people are... not people, no. Stuff that right-wingers, who are sort of... They can see the certainty of their future disappearing before their eyes, because they thought it was all going to go a particular way. And the same people who love the Conservative Party, for whatever weird reason, also love Donald Trump. And there was the certainty when he got the world's tiniest graze from that piece of glass that flew through the air and nicked him ever so slightly on his ear. At that moment, when that picture was taken, I thought, well, that's it. That's him who's won the next election. I'm going to make sure my affairs are in order, because there goes the planet.
Oh, no.
And then that certain future was whipped out from underneath him. I mean, I would say it was whipped out like a rug from underneath him, but you can't say Donald Trump and rug in the same sentence.
Don't be rude.
That would be rude. And they're just flailing around, the right-wingers in general, because the certainty of their lives has just been upended. Hey, you lost, get over it. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hello, number please. Trying to connect you. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yes, here's a caller in Oldbury. Sorry to keep you waiting, Varanjit.
Mate, how you doing, Nick?
I am super. Thanks for asking.
Good. Right, then. Where shall we start? We could start with recycled teenagers, yeah?
What?
Recycled teenagers. That's what these Oasis are, right? They've gone and made their money. They've got a bit older and suddenly think they need a bit more money, right? And they'll get everybody hyped up and sell their tickets, make a bit more money out of us, and then go back into hiding again.
Well, I don't think they were in hiding.
Well, not hiding, but you know what I mean. You know, when they think, well, we've only got a few million left in there, what should we do? And Liam and Noel thinks, oh, I'll tell you what, we'll go and bury the hatchet and let's just go and sell our tickets. And you know what? Supply meets demand, doesn't it? And people, if they are foolish enough to pay £5,000 or whatever for their ticket,
good for them.
You know, a bully for them. And then the other bit, the main bit I want to talk about is, you know, me and you discussed over the last few months. Sorry, I forgot. I need to mention two guys. One came over from Kent and one was from just round the corner. Adam, right? They're your number one fans. And
how can they both be my number one fans?
Well, one might be just a little bit more like the, you know, like you say, a little bit better, you know, minute of a degree.
Well, so which one is better than the other?
Well, I asked Adam, the younger one, I said, what do you do for a living? He goes, I fly aeroplanes out of London. So, you know,
what?
I thought, he's an airline pilot.
Blimey.
Yeah, so you have got very intelligent listeners, you know what I mean?
Yeah, unless they're employing idiots to fly airplanes now.
No. He's only a young lad. You know what? I was shocked. And his brother is a musician. But, when Jamie was a musician, I thought, when he said, I fly aeroplanes out of London, I thought, Ranjit, quit while you're ahead, mate. These guys are your fans, yeah? Okay, but don't embarrass yourself anymore. So hello to them, and they love you. Hello. And they say they're going to form a branch of the Nick Abbott fan club in Kent, and me as the honorary member. Yeah, but going back to what they're on about now, Rishi Sunak isn't saying a lot, right? But he's little few cronies, the has-beens, right, are jumping up and down. Now,
about what?
About the picture.
The picture.
Margaret Thatcher,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, these guys have laid so many booby traps, right? And they're setting them off one at a time.
Yeah. I told you that this is what they would do. They would salt the earth, thereby making it as difficult as possible for an incoming regime so that they could blame them for everything that is wrong with the country.
Yeah, I mean, they only mentioned it in passing. Liz Truss was thinking of making cancer treatment private. You can't have it on the, It's not as if you're going to have a butt job or a nose job. Yeah, it's cancer. You're going to die from it. You need to be supported by the thing. And where's all the presenters talking about
job.
that? But these people that go to places like Abbot. Brazilian,
and they have there's some flesh taken off their nose and put onto their butt. Yeah,
and then they come here, and then the National Health Service has to, look after them. Somebody could be dying of, I don't know, any kidney kind of cancer or any kind. And so, what these you said to me, and I agree with you. I mean, you are on the same hymn sheet on this one. It would only be months before people forget about what the Tories have done over the last 14 months, yeah? Now, they're going on about the pensioners, right, and the winter fuel allowance, right? So I said to people, look, can I just give it you simply? You can't make an omelette without cracking a few eggs, right?
Do you actually sell omelettes in your chip shop?
No.
Well, then how are you even an egg expert?
I
I
eat omelettes,
right.
Right. So I say to them, listen, okay, simple then. Tell me how you've benefited, right? I don't like arguing with my customers because when I win,
because other chip shops are available. Yeah,
that's But like the sensible people, I will discuss politics and in depth. I say, explain to me how have you benefited, right? And they really can't say. I said, tell you how you've lost out. I says, where you was paying probably £7 or £8 for a fish and chips. I says, you're paying £12 nearly now. For fish and chips. I said, so that's how you've lost out, right? On everything that the Tories have done, right, we've all lost out, bar the 1 or 2% of the population of this
made
country.
Out like bandits.
They did, and people don't understand. And then they're going, and they're still on about, we've got control of our borders. And, right, for a fact, right, our border with the EU, when we was in Europe, was in Calais. And then when we left, then the border is Dover. Once these people are in international waters, international law says it's a receiving country's problem.
Right, you're wasting your breath, Ranjit. These people have already made up their minds. Facts aren't relevant.
No, but what I'm trying... But the thing is, like what Donny says, he loves the poorly educated, right? And for the last 20 years, they've been messing up the education system. They've been telling the children, there's no need for you to have a career, you'll be okay. It's not happening here. It's happening
wait a minute. Who said that? Who said there's no need for children to have a career?
But they don't say it as such, but that word that I can't say subliminally, they've been putting those things in our heads, like I said to you, the way I'm speaking to you now, if I told you, right, that I was born in this country, but I went to live in India. When I come back, when I was 9, I could not speak a single word of English, right? So I had to sit with the immigrant children and learn how to speak English again.
because I stayed in India, went to school in India and learned Punjabi. We never learned English at all. But you couldn't tell me that I sound like... I could be talking like Jonathan, like this, mate, but I don't, do I? So these people now are planting seeds of hatred everywhere now. And Starmer, right, I think he needs to probably be a bit more forceful and say, listen, Sunak, I found you booby trap, and there it is, because all these... They was going to do this winter fuel cut, the Tories were, but what the thing is, Sunak had the advantage of calling the election, right? If he had waited any longer, they would have lost a lot more MPs, I think, because the salting of the earth had started to wear out.
Yeah.
What do you think? People got a bit wiser.
Yeah, I think that the Tories knew that they were going to lose, and they probably the ones that are independently wealthy probably didn't mind a period in the wilderness to regroup, allow the dismal state of the nation to get pinned on the incoming Labour government, who would flail around and try to fix something, which seems to be the way of Labour governments. They come in, try to fix the mess that the Tories have wrought upon the nation, but are blamed for that mess while they're trying to fix it. And the public then will get irate at how long it's taking and equally blame the Labour Party, and then we get another 14 blowing years of the Tories again.
I know. It's like me giving you three kings, right, in a deck of cards,
yes,
and me having three aces, and the Tories have still got their aces up their sleeves, and that's where I think, people like Starmer and Lorraine there, right?
So how many aces are we talking about now? Because you've got three, they've got them up their sleeve. How many aces are in this pack?
Well, they've got the stamp, mate. They just make an ace whenever they want. They just get some ink and just say, look, there's another ace, mate, like what they did all over the last 14 years. I was looking up, right, on some sensible sites on how many times Boris Johnson lied.
Yeah.
Right? And to be honest, I think it's going to be easier to find how many times he told the truth.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right, yeah. He's lied at least once.
And one.
Twice.
Two.
How many times?
6 million.
About 6 million times. That sounds about right. Ranjit, got to go. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. I still haven't got around to Boris Johnson versus the Margaret Thatcher picture. Because he had to write a column about it, because of course he did. But because it's behind a paywall, you probably haven't read it. I have, so you don't have to.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
Yeah! Dude!
0345 6060 973. Chris says, just thinking about these stupid storm names, which I started the programme with, he said we should just call them all Glasgow, which is another way of saying non-stop rain. Storm Glasgow. Every storm is Storm Glasgow. Phil says, I'd much rather go and see Tom Jones. At least he's got talent, rather than Oasis. They're absolutely awful. They were bad enough the first time round. Says Phil. Well, you get no argument from me. You'd have to be out of your mind to spend £4,000 to go a ticket to see that band. The dullest live band ever. Clive says, with everything coming back, we could end up back in the EU. Hopefully, says Clive. 0345 6060 973. Don't forget to remind me to do the Boris Johnson thing. Queensland. Rob, third call from Australia. Yes, Rob.
Oh, hi there, Nick. Yeah, I just want to talk about Oasis a little bit. I've been over here in Australia for a good 15 years, but before I left the UK, and I'm not sure if the two facts were kind of connected, but I saw Oasis in 1996, I think it was, at Nebworth.
They drove you out of the country.
Well, a little bit. I was a little bit of a fan when they kind of first arrived, And then I got out of them a bit, you know, like they weren't really. I moved on to other things, but anyway, this friend of mine, who I didn't see that often, dear friend, he decided to get tickets for us to go to Nebworth, which involved being bussed in and bussed out.
Oh,
that was
no.
the only way we could do it.
No.
The warning signs were there right from the start. I was already not looking forward to it.
Because, you know,
so, anyway,
did your heart sink at the knowledge that it was a bus? Because, as opposed to a car, you can't leave when you want to.
100% on the nail on the head there. That was exactly the problem, and I'll come to that in a minute. But so we get there, and you know, there was a bright start. We had Prodigy supporting, and they were wonderful.
Yes,
they were really good. They ripped it up, and it was real noisy and loads of energy, and everyone was warmed up.
Yeah, I can imagine that they were wild live.
Yeah, they were wild. They were truly wild. I mean, they had been banned, and that was all at the sort of same time.
It just got banned off their show, by the way. My glamorous assistant hit the dump button. So watch what you say, Rob, because you'll be disappeared instantly. You stray over the line again.
Sorry, Matt. Sorry. That's just the name of the song. But
I know it is, yeah.
Sorry. So that was wild, and we were in this state of fever pitch, excited for the main event, Oasis. And then on they come.
These granddads shuffle on stage and then just stand around for what seemed like an eternity.
It's sort of this noise. It's sort of like
it's like this kind of whine. It's a drudgy whine. Yeah.
Oh, so you know, almost immediately the mood was deflated amongst the many thousands of people who were there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a massive audience.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that half, you know, you're in trouble when you start looking at your watch, and I'm thinking, God, it's going to take ages to get out of the car park.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, this is when you should be, you know, really building up to the climax of the gig and, you know, the excitement of it all. And I'm just thinking about how long it's going to take to get home. And, you know, I just want to save your listeners some money.
Yes.
Because, you know, don't bother. It was awful. Yeah. Truly awful.
I couldn't agree more. They're the worst live band I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's dreadful. Yeah. Save your money.
But at least it didn't make me move to Australia.
Yeah. Well, one or two other things, but you know, maybe it was a contributory factor.
Yeah, contributory factor.
Afterwards.
Yeah. So, what kind of phone are you talking to us on there, Rob? Landline or mobile?
Just a standard mobile.
I mean, can you believe this, ladies and gentlemen? The three clearest calls I've had on this show tonight have all come from Australia. You could not get further away without a rocket ship.
I can hear you literally like a bell.
Yeah, clear as. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Rob. He's absolutely furious. All these years later, and he's still suffering. Poor man. Champagne supernova in the sky. See, I literally would not go if you gave me tickets. This anonymous text says, great. Can I get my shell suits out again? Yeah, you can. I think uniquely, the fashions from the 90s that makes everybody look like they're in the Happy Mondays have come back as was. The kids have raided their parents' old dressing up box, the clothes that their parents didn't want to throw away but can't get into anymore, those ones. They don't have to go out and buy new clothes because the old clothes are perfectly on time. It's really weird, and it's as though a message went out. Like they had a memo. Everybody under the age of 30 had a memo overnight. We're not wearing those stupid spray-on ballet-tight jeans anymore. How they got into them or out of them, I've got no idea. But we're all wearing mad for it clobber, and they did. It's as though it's as though their lives depended on the overnight change. It's quite remarkable. It's like with military precision they all changed. 0345 6060 973. Boreham Wood. Hello, Kelvin.
Hi. Good day there, Cobber. Firstly, about the issue with the flies, how to get rid of these thousands of fruit flies.
Yes.
So you need to get yourself a jar or a large glass, washing up liquid at the bottom of the glass.
Yeah.
Put some water in. Get a piece of really sweet fruit, say a piece of mango. Cover the top with cling film tightly, and then punctuate the top with small holes. And I guarantee you, within 24 hours, that thing will be full of the flies.
So let me see if I got. Hang on a minute. Let me see if I got this straight. So you get a large jar
or glass,
and you put a little bit of dishwasher.
I didn't say a little bit. A reasonable amount of washing up liquid at the bottom.
How much is a reasonable amount?
Oh, I know, a bit more than that.
A bit more than what?
Well, a bit more than you were thinking.
Well, I was motioning about an inch.
Yeah, well, that's a bit too much.
Bit too much, like about a half an inch, something like that.
Yeah, that'll do it. Put some water in as well.
A little bit of how much?
Same again.
Because it's like we're mixing a cocktail here.
Well, wait till you get the fruit. Then you put a piece of really sweet fruit, say mango.
Yeah.
Then cover the top with cling film tightly.
Mm-hmm.
Punctuate it with loads of small holes.
Yeah.
And then within 24 hours, all your fruit flies will be gone, and that thing will be full up with them. Once you see it works, make a donation to your favourite charity. It's guaranteed.
Right.
Oh, by the way, I heard somebody moaning about ants. There is a unique way of getting rid of ants.
Go on.
Most people won't believe it.
Do you take a jar and then put a little bit of washing up liquid in the bottom?
No.
No, I got that wrong.
Are you ready for this, Nick?
Go on.
You get down and you talk to them. You say to them, look, it's been nice having you here in our house.
Mm-hmm.
It's now time for you to move on somewhere else. Open the door and out they'll go. Talk to them nicely. 2 for 1 there. Anyway, here's the best of all.
I can't imagine where this is going next. Go on.
Everybody's talking about the smoking ban.
Yeah.
And the thing that strikes me, it's a bit like, what do they call it? The dead cat syndrome. You know, they throw the dead cat on the table.
Yeah.
And everybody starts talking about the dead cat. That's what they're doing, talking about the cigarette ban.
But it's to distract us from what?
The big, heavy stuff that's coming down the line.
Uh-oh.
Everybody's going to be so busy talking about, we can't smoke outside the pub, can't smoke. They're going to, the increase in taxes is just going to blow your hats off.
Well, you see, now that's coming in October, and this smoking thing is, if they wanted to distract us from what's happening in October, then they should have waited for the smoking thing till October.
They're going to be talking about this until October. This isn't going away. It's a deflection.
Right.
What do you reckon on that?
What, the talking to ants part, or...?
Well, no, I can imagine your view on that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, good to talk to you, Calvin. Thanks very much. Just talk to them. Ants are people too, you know. A little respect. RPSETCP, like Aretha Franklin sang. Chris says, this Starmer gloom speech, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Is there nothing Meghan Markle will not do for attention? I didn't realise it was her fault. Yeah, thanks a lot, Meghan Markle. See what you've done? Tina says, I had a rush of nostalgia, you mentioning the crocheted toilet roll covers. Recently, I borrowed a loo roll from an elderly I had a rush of nostalgia, you mentioning the crocheted toilet roll covers, says Tina. Recently, I borrowed a loo roll from an elderly... Why is that hard? Have you heard? Recently, Tina borrowed a loo roll from an elderly neighbour. I have given one back and she smuggled it out under her cardigan like some illegal contraband. Perhaps being embarrassed is an age thing. Gave her a toilet roll back and she smuggled it out of the house under her cardigan, in case anybody saw. Although, I mean, that is ridiculous. Having said that, there is something embarrassing about walking around with a big pack of toilet rolls, because they sell them in, like 16 rolls, don't they, or more. You can get these massive bags of toilet rolls, which makes it cheaper to buy. But I always get the feeling that I don't really want anybody to see me carrying this amount of toilet paper. What's that about? Like, you'll think that they are wondering, what's he going to use all that toilet paper for? What's wrong with him? Nothing. I ain't done nothing. So I understand what she's... I understand the elderly neighbour smuggling it out under her cardigan so that nobody else sees it. Because you just don't want to be associated with what you do with a toilet roll.
Disgusting.
Do you? You especially don't want to be associated with what you'll do with 16 toilet rolls. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
And I can't stand him.
Nick says, I saw Oasis twice in the 1990s and they were great. I wouldn't pay anywhere near the ridiculous prices to see them play next year. They are past their sell-by date, says Nick. Well, obviously not, because they're selling. Anna says, I loved Oasis as a teen. I turned 40 next week. Says, I agree with you entirely. They are actually garbage, aren't they? No, Garbage was a different band. Were they the ones that sang, I'm only happy when it rains? Was that somebody else? Thank God I've come to my senses in time, says Anna. No Garbage being played at my birthday bash. She's got a birthday bash. Oh 0345 6060 973. Waltham Abbey. Hello, Justin.
Oh, hello, Nick. It's a privilege, first of all, to speak to you. I listen to your show all the time since I've been listening to LBC, so...
Oh, well, thanks for that.
That's okay. Basically, why I phoned up, I totally agree. We might be the only two, I don't know. I can't stand Oasis at all.
What? I mean, even if one of their old hits comes on the radio, you would turn it off?
Turn it off? If I was near to it, definitely, yes, I would.
Would you throw it out the window? Would you throw that radio out the window if Oasis came on?
I don't know if I'd go as far to do that.
If you were driving your car and Oasis came on the radio, would you drive into a tree just to make it stop?
No, I would not. I would not, Nick, because, right. At the end of the day, it's not a good thing to do that. But
no.
Are they overrated or what? I mean, I think they are so overrated. Huge. I really do.
Yeah. It was odd that they were up against Blur for the title of the Kings of Britpop when they're just so completely different. I mean, Blur are sort of, I don't know, they're smart and light on their feet, and Oasis they seem to have their shoes in concrete and they're just ploddy.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. But the thing is, I mean, I don't know what the dispute is between, obviously, them, each other through the years. Well, I haven't got any idea. Obviously, I don't know.
I think the dispute was all manufactured by the record companies who just wanted to sell more records.
I see. I mean, I don't know what your favourite groups are, but I quite like Motown and Stevie Wonder. And
well, how could you not like Stevie Wonder? One of the greatest geniuses in the history of modern music.
I totally agree.
Him and 100%. David Bowie ruled the 1970s. It was the Stones and the Beatles in the 60s, and David Bowie and Stevie Wonder in the 1970s.
Well, David Bowie did change the formation about the structure of the way the music was going through at the time. I will totally agree. But Stevie Wonder, do you know who my favourite artist is? My solo artist?
Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye's up there, but Elton John is my favourite artist.
Right. Well,
I went to see him.
You and the rest of the world, everybody loves Elton John.
I think so. I went to see him in Highlands Park. I was lucky enough to get a ticket at the time.
Yeah, near Chelmsford.
Yeah, many moons ago. And you know what? It's the best gig I've ever been to. He came down to Highlands Park by helicopter. And I tell you something, the best thing I ever saw, what he done that night, he was going into a song, I can't remember what song it was, the top of my head, and then he came out of it, went into another song, and then came back to the original song that he started. It was just unreal.
Blown my mind, Justin.
It's such a privilege to speak to you.
All right,
and
And I'm very glad that you called. Thanks very much, mate. Cheers for that. No. 0345 6060 973. Kay says, talking of a 4-day week, Bodger was on a 4-day week as Prime Minister. Well, that's right. Also, if he could have hired a good body double to go out jogging as him, he would have done. Unfortunately, he couldn't find anybody. Yeah, he didn't go jogging. There's that famous clip of which told everybody what he actually does do. He puts that ludicrous jogging gear on and then takes a car up to moments away from his house or wherever he's going into, and then jogs from the car past the photographers into the building. I mean, does that man look like he does exercise? Not really, no. Heston, Isaac.
Good morning, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Right, okay. I haven't written anything down because I'm in bed now, so right. I'm using a mnemonic, OFL, right? So O is for Oasis, F is for Fruit Flies, and L is for Liz Truss, right? Oasis.
That's not
right,
not really what I would call a mnemonic device, but anyway.
It's my memory technique. I learned it in the mid-1970s. Anyway, Oasis. Yeah, two money-making ideas for Oasis. Mm-hmm. One of them is that they could play a gig at the Royal Albert Hall. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And the other one.
I think Eric Clapton has got those nights booked. Unfortunately, for them. Yeah.
And the other one is that they should put their concert on Sky behind a TV wall,
I bet they
do.
I bet they do.
Yes. Okay, right. Okay, number two.
It does surprise me that doesn't happen more often. I mean, every now and again you'll see at the cinema that a theatre production or an opera or something like that is put on the cinema around the country. And I would bet that they earn more from the cinema tickets than they do from the actual performance in the theatre in London or wherever. I'm amazed that every production does not do that. And ditto the rock bands. Why don't they all do that? I mean, the Stones did that probably first because, they're the best at making the KASH.
Exactly.
And they put their gig up on the worldwide wait for, and this was like really early on. Why other bands haven't followed on? I just don't get it.
Absolutely, I agree. The next one is fruit flies.
Yes.
I solved the problem a few years ago. What I did, the flies were coming into, one window during the summer, so I keep that window permanently closed. And also, what I do is, I sort of, I have no rubbish in the kitchen, no sort of, food waste or anything in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Straight outside, nothing in the kitchen, and it seems to have helped,
Yes. Now, when you say that you closed a window, that seems a bit extreme. You've shut off an entire window just because one, like a fly, used to come in there.
Flies, yeah. What it is, it's one. It's like the top window. You know what I mean? I've got 2 windows in this room. No, 3 windows in this room.
Wow!
And one of them is a top window, long and thin at the top. So I keep that permanently closed. So and it seems to have helped. Right. And finally,
yes,
Liz Truss.
Liz Truss,
absolutely.
Yes.
I was, oh God, no. I couldn't believe it when I was listening to James O'Brien, I think it was Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
He said, right, that, in the book, Truss at number 10, how not to be a Prime Minister, right, said that she was considering, cancelling cancer treatment on the NHS.
Cancelling cancer treatment on the NHS.
That is a disgrace.
You're a disgrace, Liz Truss.
I thought, when I heard that, I thought, nah, I've got to fact check. I've got to fact check this. So I went on the internet, as you do. Right. Went on to Google, typed it in.
Fact checking James O'Brien. Go on.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, he's my second favourite presenter after you, and there it was. So
in black and white.
Absolutely, yeah. It was it Independent Online, Guardian Online, something else online. So what I'm thinking about doing now, I might purchase the ebook, Truss at number 10, right. Because
Isaac, just don't accidentally buy her book.
Oh, no. Well, I've bought one of her books anyway. About a year ago, I bought Britain Unchained, which she wrote with 4 others, yeah.
Yeah, she wrote it with Dominic Raab.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory. I don't support the Human Rights Act, and I don't believe in economic and social rights. My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
Yeah, I believed you the first time, Dominic.
Yeah, she wrote it with... Dominic Raab, Kwasi Kwarteng, Priti Patel, and was it Chris Scudamore? So
and you read that book, did you?
I've read bits of it. I'm going to go through it, but from what I've read, it is a right-wing capitalist playbook. Yes. So I highly recommend it.
And Liz Truss was blown into office on the promise of enacting that playbook, and she did. And the success of it, was only existed in her own mind.
That's right. And Britain Unchained lasted 45 days during her premiership. So there you go. Yeah. I
think you need to read the cover. Really. I think you need to. Well, I think you've said enough. You have delighted us sufficiently, Isaac. I think you need to read the cover of that book again. It's Britannia Unchained. Not that it really makes any difference one way or the other. It burns at the same temperature, regardless. It suits as a doorstop, regardless of how they're spelling that word on the front cover. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. And remember one thing.
We have never had it so good.
Never had it so good. That's just a fact. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on WhatsApp, it's the same number as the phone, 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC, it's 12:30. The news headlines with Serena Farrow.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
It's a radio show, dear. Sean texts, my nana died on New Year's Eve last year. One of the few things of hers I kept was the crocheted toilet roll cover. She always called her my wee toilet lady. Isn't that weird? People didn't want you to look at the toilet roll because it would remind... I assume that the reason is because it would remind people of what you use the toilet roll for.
Disgusting.
Awful. And that's what they used to do. And crocheting used to be a thing. Maybe it still is. They crocheted a toilet roll cover. The best one I saw was like I described previously. The crocheted toilet roll cover was actually the dress of a doll, and her feet would go in the cardboard roll, and then you'd pull her dress down over the toilet roll, making it look like, you know, one of those ladies that used to swan about with Louis XIV. I've got absolutely no idea whether that is the correct year for that dress, but I'm going to say it out loud and it will become a fact. Matt says, I have an electric fly zapper, basically a plug-in light that attracts flies. They fly into it and get electrocuted unto death. You can smell them burning sometimes, which isn't nice. And sometimes the fly explodes, he says. Oh, it's going to be a lot of people who are very upset about hearing that. He says, being electric, it's probably bad for the planet and bad for the flies, but I hate flies more than I love the environment, says Matt. 0345 6060 973. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah, ringing about the Donald, basically, but just to go on to ticket prices.
Yeah.
I came across 3 old ticket stubs, one for ELP, one for Deep Purple, and one for Black Sabbath.
Wow.
Which would be about 70, somewhere about there.
Yeah.
And they were just under £2 each.
Wow. Now, you have to keep what you need to know is how much was a week's wages in that time, average.
Well, now, what I can tell you, I can't tell you that really closely, but I can tell you that a pint of bitter was 10 pence.
That's about as much as they're selling it for now in Slovakia, according to a caller right at the beginning of this show.
So it was about £20, 20 times the price of a pint. Okay, they've shot up in price over the last couple of years, but in that sense, it's not so weird. But I remember having to save for bands coming.
Yeah, well, I don't really. I went to bands all the time. Like, not so many bands before the punk era happened, but you know, some big band. Like I said, that the Who. I'm pretty sure that was £3 for that massive lineup. The Sensational Alex Harvey Band, that can't have been more than about £1.50, something like that. I mean, it's just amazing how much things used to cost. And I find it extraordinary with, you know, people have been talking about the cost of living crisis for a little while now, and they were, when we were in the middle of it, I mean, of course we have not got over it yet. Things are still massively expensive. It's just that now they're going up less quickly than they used to. I think prices haven't gone down any. But it did occur to me that aren't these companies that are profiteering, because there's no doubt that they were, if they're making record profits and their prices have gone up, that means that the increase in prices has just gone straight into their pockets as profit. Yeah, so aren't they actually increasing their profits to the point that people can't pay them? You'd think that would be a self-destructive move on their part, but people are paying them. We have to pay for food, obviously, and fuel, and water, and all of these things. So they were just taking advantage. The price of everything else was going up, so they thought, yeah, all right, well, we'll cash in too.
Well, I think so, yeah. And to be fair, back in the day, everybody could afford to go to a gig. It wasn't just the wealthy or the middle class that could afford to go to a gig. Everybody could afford to do it. And just something that occurred to me while we were talking, at the time, petrol was 8p a litre, as a comparison. And it's gone up 20 times.
Yeah.
In the meantime, which is a bit odd. But anyway, back to Donald Trump. 3 things struck me this week about Donald Trump. And I'm wondering whether he's really seriously losing it more.
Yes, I think so, yeah. I think the switch around on him that he thinks is very unfair is when Biden dropped out and he had to almost start again with thinking up infantile names for his opponent. I think it's really taken it out of him.
Yeah, the three things this week that hit me where he did the Kamala Harris did. She's a beautiful woman. She's got a beautiful face, but her face is not as beautiful as mine. Mine's the most beautiful face in the world. And I'm thinking, this guy's trying to be president of the most important country in the free world, and he's garbling about beautiful faces. And then he went on to the election coming up in California, the presidential election, and he said, I had a rally. It was the biggest crowd you've ever seen. No one's ever had a crowd as big as me in California. And if Jesus counted the votes, I would win.
Yeah.
But if I don't win, it's been fixed. It's been stolen from me.
Yes.
No Republican could ever win in California. What is he?
Well, he's doing the exact same thing that he did before the last election by saying that if he doesn't win, it is a fix, which sets him up to excuse a failure. And it also sets his fans up to be outraged because he predicted the fix and then the fix happened. And they're still going on about the last election, still pretending that he won. I mean, that's part of his diatribe, this sort of speech that he gives everywhere he goes. It's the same blooming thing every time because he says the same crazy things. Would you rather be electrocuted by a battery on a boat or killed by a shark? I mean, where the hell did he get that from? And he talks about the late, great Hannibal Lecter. What's he talking about?
I don't know, it's insanity, but the third one that occurred this week, he's telling fragments of what he called his victory.
Yes.
When he defeated Biden in that TV debate, he's selling fragments of that for $100 each. Now that's raising $10 million. But what the really ironic thing when you think about it is he's called it his victory thing. If he loses this election, that performance by Biden and his so-called victory is actually what will cost him the election. so all these little dinglings will buy this quarter-inch square of his suit that he wore on that night that is responsible for his defeat. which is quite ironic when you think about it.
Well, everything about him is ironic, and everything about the way that he presents himself is ironic in that he is the opposite of who he pretends to be all the time, and always has been. I'll be so great. Well, he didn't say for women, which would make sense. But I'll be so great to women.
I will be so great to women. I cherish women.
No woman should be allowed to remain in his company unaccompanied.
Absolutely. I mean, but it is a standard debating technique. It gives you opponents of exactly what you're doing.
Right, it's called...
It's difficult to defeat that, because once you've been accused of something, if you do the reverse of it, it's childish.
Right.
So it's difficult to defeat, and but all politicians use that. He's not unique in that one.
Yeah, no, it's projection. It's accusing the other side of that which you were guilty. And he does it all the time. All the time.
He doesn't. I tell you what else. Braverman substituted for James O'B on Monday. She spent 3 hours and she never admitted a fault on anything. Personally, she admitted that the Tory party, against her advice, had made 3 mistakes. But for 3 hours, she was adamant she had never made a mistake. That is a very, very dangerous... Seriously, it's a dangerous person who will never, ever admit to any fault whatsoever.
Right.
They are dangerous people, and you need to be careful of them.
I will be, Mike. I'll look over my shoulder at all times. Thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, Donald Trump is his new grift is digital trading cards. Hello, everyone. This is your favourite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. By popular demand, I am doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. That's his infomercial, word for word. He posted it on social media this week. Roll up. For just $99 a piece, Trump supporters can pay with a credit card or crypto to own digital cards. Not physical cards, digital ones. showing a young and muscular Trump on a motorcycle holding a lightning bolt and praying. Yeah. This is the third offering of these digital trading cards that he calls the America First Collection. Those who cough up $24,750 or more, that is $24,750 of digital playing cards, will get 2 tickets to a gala dinner at my beautiful country club in Jupiter, Florida, and a piece of his debate suit. I mean, you think you'd be making this stuff up, but this is all true. And I refer you back to Idiocracy. I'm not kidding. Watch that film and tell me it did not used to be a comedy about the future, but it is now a documentary about the present. It's as though they knew he was going to be the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump. He's selling a piece of his debate suit. Or so he says. But, you know, when did he ever lie about anything? These follow other grifting ventures by Trump. Sneakers. There's solid gold trainers. Bibles. He sold Bibles. The Trump Bible. It's the best Bible ever. God spoke to me and he said, sir, he said, that is the best Bible I have ever seen. But his biggest scheme has been convincing supporters to buy stock in Trump Media. You know, the parent of Truth Social, which was his answer to Twitter. Trump Media. And his dingling fans just did what he said. I mean, he must absolutely love that element of his support.
I love the poorly educated.
They do whatever he says. Buy shares in Trump Media and you will be rich. Well, investors who bought at the peak have now lost 75% of their money because the business is fundamentally worthless. It loses millions of dollars a year and produces almost no revenue. And so he's got people to buy this essentially worthless stock. And, of course, the more people buy something, the more expensive it gets. And he's got a 59% stake in the company, which is apparently valued at about $2.2 billion. And for some legal reason that I'm not familiar with, in America, if you... there has to be a period after which you start a company before you can sell your stake in it, and that date is September the 20th. I betcha, he starts selling his stake on September the 20th. Anybody want to bet that he doesn't? Company executives have already been cashing out, apparently. And loyal Trump supporters who bought in on his assurance that Trump Media is highly successful are holding the bag. And that's his... hesitate to use this word, but that's his genius. He has been able to persuade people his whole life that he is who he isn't. Most specifically, he's been able to persuade people that he is a successful businessman, which is the opposite of the truth. He's failed at almost everything he's ever done, apart from persuading people that he's a success. And you have to give him credit. He's probably the world's, and I'll go as far as I can on this, he's probably the best con artist the world has ever seen. 0345 6060 973, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. 0345 6060 973. Cumbernauld. Andrew.
Good evening. Good to talk to you again, Nick.
Andrew.
Just a couple of points to make. The first point is in terms of removing portraits and having them swapped.
Yeah.
The worst one that was ever done was done by Robin Cook when he became Foreign Secretary. He swapped out a photograph or a portrait of a Raja and replaced it with a portrait of Oliver Cromwell.
Right.
And the first people to visit the Foreign Office after he did that was a representation or a delegation from Ireland.
Okay.
And after given Oliver Cromwell's history in Ireland, needless to say, the Irish delegation were more than a trifle upset at the presence of a portrait of Oliver Cromwell in the Foreign Office. So I don't think the swapping out of the Thatcher portrait is that big a deal.
I mean, if you were sitting in a small room and you were trying to think or have a little conversation with somebody, if there was this massive picture of, it doesn't even really matter that it was Margaret Thatcher, it just makes it worse because it was her, but a woman glowering down at you, the most dominant thing in the room, I mean, that would make you feel uncomfortable, wouldn't it?
Yes, and she was an absolute Marmite politician as well. It wasn't just somebody like James Callaghan that you might not have a great opinion one way or another of. She was absolute Marmite. So swapping out anyone else, you might think, yeah, no big deal, but when it's her, you're going to either love her or hate her, or love her or hate the swapping out of the portrait. So
what really is bizarre to me is not the moving of the picture. It's the right wing's reaction to the moving of the picture, as though they were on the edge of their seat, waiting for what's the Fury as story today. You know, Fury as man moves a picture in his own home.
doesn't change our significance or history or influence in one way or another. Anyway, the other point I was wanted to make was concert prices.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin performed in 1979 at Nebworth, and a ticket to see them was £10 in 1979 money, which I've worked out. On an internet near me, I worked out that works out at about £50 in today's money.
Is that all? Because that sounds like quite a lot. £10 back then.
£10 back then. Well, it wasn't nothing. But I remember my first pint about that stage was about £1.
Right.
So if you look at it, about the price of about 10 pints.
Right, so that's about 60 quid.
Yeah, so it's about £50 in today's money. And given how huge a band they were at the time, that is an absolute... Whether you personally like them or not...
Are you kidding me? I would have chopped your hand off to get those tickets, Andrew. Not literally, but...
Me too.
You know, I would have pushed you over in the street.
yeah, I was far too young to go at the time, but...
Who else was on that bill? Because it wasn't just them, was it?
I don't think it was them. It was, I think, obviously it was the Nebworth Festival, wasn't it? So there would have been a whole number of other bands at the time. But for 10 quid of your 1979 money, you could have seen Zeppelin.
I do feel a little bit sorry for the kids these days, because they're just, unless I'm missing an enormous sort of undercurrent or undercurrent, undercurrent of music that I'm not familiar with because I'm old and decrepit, but
Me too.
that they just don't have anything like that. They don't have the excitement of early Stones or Who or Led Zeppelin, like you were talking about, or any of the stuff that we went through, any of the movements, the hippie thing and the classic rock and punk and
prog rock and anything.
All of that stuff. All these sort of youth,
whether you like it or not.
Yeah, these youth movements. And the last youth movement that I know of was the dance, like the rave scene, and that was 24 years ago.
Yeah, when we were considerably less ancient than we are now.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. And if I could just squeeze in one more point, very, very briefly. One of your previous callers was absolutely spot on. The reason for this is the internet. Because, like he said, the people used to lose money on the tours, which was why it was £2 a ticket. But they'd make their money from selling the vinyl.
Right.
And nowadays they make nothing from issuing the actual music. And they'll make it from selling you a T-shirt or selling you a gig ticket. That's where the money is these days. He was absolutely spot on.
Well, I don't know, because that presupposes that if a band was making money selling records, that they wouldn't charge as much as they possibly thought they could get away with for a gig. Like, they weren't doing their fans a favour by keeping the tickets low. That was just the price of it then.
Yeah, but the tours, I think, apart from people like Zeppelin, tours, generally speaking, in the 70s lost money.
Yeah.
It was the equivalent of a supermarket loss leader. You went on a tour, you sold the tickets for £2, you made nothing from it, but you'd sell an absolute shed load of records on the back of it.
That's
and
true.
You made your money from the actual shifting the vinyl through your local record shop. Whereas nowadays, everyone will listen to it on YouTube or wherever, whatever file sharing site they're getting it from.
Yeah.
So they make nothing from recording it and issuing it. Whereas if they want to make money, it's going to have to be the tour at £500 a ticket.
Right. There's an element of truth in that. Although I did go into a record shop the other day. You remember those?
Oh, vaguely.
And it was absolutely full of records. They didn't have... I couldn't see a single CD in there. It was all records. It was like stepping back into the 1970s.
Going back to your childhood, was it?
Yeah. Except I couldn't afford anything in there. All right, thanks a lot, Andrew. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, it was really quite extraordinary to walk in and look at all those racks of 12-inch covers. So much better. I mean, in every way, so much better as a physical product than CDs, which are nasty, plastic covered, and the artwork's too small, and they don't smell of anything, and you don't. There's none of that. There's no heart to it, and there definitely, doubly, especially, isn't any heart to listening to it digitally. But it's so much easier, though. And David Bowie was right. I mean, he predicted decades ago that music would come through the wall in a tube, just like electricity does. And that's exactly how people are listening to it. He was a seer in many ways. Some text and emails to end on. You know what? I didn't get around to this Boris Johnson hyperventilating over Keir Starmer moving Thatcher's portrait. I'll do it tonight. It's quite amusing. I mean, not what he wrote, but, just the it of it. What an absolute catastrophe you are as a person, Boris Johnson.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Rex texts, you can get museum smells in a bottle. I was going on about favourite smells a little while ago. I can't remember why, but I was. He says, my daughter bought some museum smells from a military museum. They smell of nostalgia, says Rex. I'm not sure whether to believe that or not. Christina says, my favourite remembered sound. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, in the US. Many a night I was lulled to sleep by the foghorn on Lake Erie, 5 minutes away. Still love the memory of that sound. Well, that does sound romantic. It sounds like the train noise that they have in America that filmmakers often use as a romantic background sound. It's got two notes that are played simultaneously. I'll try to recreate that for you using my nose. Like that. Wow, it was almost as though it was pulling into the station right next to us, wasn't it? I'll be back tonight. If you missed any of tonight's show, you can listen back on Catch Up on Global Player. This show and the Saturday show gets put up the internet as a podcast. We take the news and most of the ads out, mostly, which means it takes less time to listen to. You'll use less electricity. And by that method, you'll do your bit to protect the environment.
Thank you.
Ask for it by name on Global Player. It's called Nick Abbott, The Whole Show Podcast. Global Player is free. Get it from your app store or globalplayer.com. At 4 on LBC, Ollie Dugmore First, Clyde Ball. 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 First,